One of the main reasons why Africa is still a developing continent is the lack of knowledge on certain vital things. And this has been enhanced by the fact that the few who have acquired the knowledge most times keep it to themselves. And at times we want to think that they do it for selfish reasons. Africa today is one of those places where knowledge is impartially shared basically on everything, especially things that can propel the industrialization of Africa. For it is said, knowledge is power. If you don't know, Africa's millionaires is going to be increasing by 42% in the next 10 years, and we would love you to be part of it. And it would benefit you to know already that the surest and safest way to becoming a millionaire in Africa is to invest in land banking, and that applies to everywhere across the globe. That's why you will notice that successful men like Dangote, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Donald Trump, and many others have invested a good deal in real estate. Recently, I asked you in one of my videos to notify if you would love to have a video on land banking, and the notifications were quite alarming. And as you know, we are here to serve you. That said, we came up with this video wherein we are going to be giving you reasons to invest in land banking. But before that, please endeavor to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and share this video with as much people as possible so that a lot of people get to learn and take action. So I understand you might be new to the term land banking and be asking yourself what land banking is all about. So let me phrase it in the most simple way possible. Land banking is basically the acquisition of land with the intention of selling it later on when it must have gained more value. That is, instead of you saving your money in a bank, you rather save it in form of land by buying as much land as possible and keeping it for it to appreciate, that is, for it to become more valuable, and then sell it later on in 3, 5, or 10 years. So basically, you are buying land and holding it for a period of 5 to 10 years, enabling it to appreciate over time. Now, let's go to the reasons why you should actually invest in land banking. The first reason is high return on investment. Yes, land banking actually gives you a return on investment that the banks can never give you. In most African countries, land banking could actually generate up to 300% profits. Another reason why you should invest in land banking is simply the fact that land banking is one of the most legitimate ways to build wealth. This is simply because land appreciates so fast, so much so that at times the profit you make from it is unrealistic, to the point that some people might think you are making your money from something else. And if you are in Africa, you know there's something else I am talking about here. But hey, that would be money you acquired legitimately, legally, and with the government's backing or support. Another reason why you should invest in land banking is the fact that you need just little capital to start up your business. Yes, with land banking, you aren't building any structure. You are just buying your land and letting it to appreciate. So you could start with whatever budget you have and grow. That leads us to the next point why you should invest on land banking, which is actually the fact that land banking is a good passive income stream. Yes, like I said, with land banking, you aren't making any effort, or if at all you are making very little effort. So it's a very good passive income source, because once you've bought your land, all you need to do is get your papers right, and you can just sit back and relax and wait for your land to appreciate, and you start selling. And that leads us to the next advantage, which is financial security. Yes, land banking is the surest and safest way to bring you about financial security, because there's no way you could ever go wrong with land, alright? Land doesn't depreciate, land doesn't deteriorate, land doesn't burn. Thus, you can't lose your piece of land in a fire disaster, for instance, or in whichever way you could lose another property. Another reason is the fact that land banking is appropriate to stand as a generational wealth. Land could be easily passed on to the next generation and on to the next generation. Look at it this way. Do you know that owning land is actually owning a part of earth? Have you ever thought of it that way? When you own a piece of land, you are actually an owner of a part of earth, of a section of earth, a section of the globe. You are an owner. That's why owning land is one of the most treasured things you could ever possess. So what more can you pass on to your generation that will be more valuable than land? Another good reason why you should invest in land banking is the fact that it isn't affected by high inflation. Land is one of those things that once the cost of living is high or the standards of living increase, the prices of land equally increase. So there are just two options. Either the value of a set land will stay put or increase. There's no way value of land can decrease. So you could just have a static value or an increase in value. So another reason is the fact that land banking is suitable for joint ventures. If you are going into a partnership with people, land can actually serve as a good share to any business you are going to be undertaking with your potential partners. Also, land is a tangible asset that could be used as a collateral for a loan. You could also use your land to lease out for cash whenever you need cash. So there are a lot of benefits attached to land banking. Now that I've recounted some of the benefits, let's go straight to how you could go about land banking. Now, before you venture into land banking, please endeavor to ask yourself these questions. Are you investing for capital appreciation, cash flow, or for your retirement? Answering these questions is very vital, for it is going to determine whether you are going in for a short-term investment or a long-term investment. Now, before you dive into land banking, there's something also very vital that you will need to absolutely cultivate, and that thing is patience. Remember in one of my videos where I was talking about the things you need to start doing as a visionary entrepreneur, I laid emphasis on patience. Yes, aside from land banking, in any business you're going to be venturing in, patience is a virtue you must cultivate. And when it comes to things like land banking, it is a must, for there's no way you could invest in land banking if you can't be patient. The land banking is something that you are going to be reaping in years to come. So you would need to embrace delay gratification. Yes, because when we talk of land banking, this is a situation in which you are going to be disbursing a huge sum of money to buy something that you aren't going to be getting profit from it any soon. You are going to be letting that money stop in that land and be very patient for it to gain enough value before you start selling and making your very first profit. So if you aren't a patient person and you can't cultivate patience, this business is not for you. Now, let's go to how to properly land bank. The first thing you should have at the back of your mind is that when you are involving yourself in land banking, buying from the city should not be an option, alright? When we talk of land banking, we are talking of buying huge plots of land, buying in bulk. Let's take a situation where you have a $30,000 budget. So instead of you buying a piece of land in a developed area for $30,000, you would rather go to a non-developed area, basically a forest. Yes, go to a forest and get 30 or even 50 plots of land with your $30,000. Let me tell you how to do it. When we talk of a forest here, we don't mean a random forest. No, you have to do some projection. You have to be good at anticipating. Yes, here's a simple example. In cities, new residential areas keep popping up as the days go by. Once an area is targeted for residences and the plots of lands there are all sold out, the forest next to that area is the next anticipated residential area, and so on and so forth. So if you want to invest in land banking, you project yourself in, let's say, 5, 8, 10 years. If you are going for 10 years, you could target the second next projected area after the area in which you are or the area you are looking at right now. So that goes to say time factor is something very important when it comes to land banking, yes, because this is something that you are going to be buying that land and wait for the right time to sell the land. Another tip is to target areas with a high concentration of government projects. Do your verifications. What's the projection of future plans the government has for that particular area? This is because such places develop faster because the government is going to facilitate development there with roads and other infrastructure in their plan. So we are talking about zoning. You should take zoning seriously. Endeavor to always do your homework and know exactly what are the future projects in a particular area or in the area you are targeting. Is the government planning to build a university there or a military base there or a hospital? In fact, those are some of the things you should be looking out for. And you can also target existing government structures already. You could target places around football stadiums, museums, airports, seaports, and you name it. So if you leverage your sense of zoning, you are going to be making more profit in land banking once you start selling your plots. And also, if possible, buy your land close to water. This is simply because the rich love building beside water, alright? If you go to any city, you check around seasides or beaches and wherever, most rich people would buy their land there for their investment, be it for their residential homes or business purpose. They often love to get land beside water so that they could often enjoy the view from their homes. So if you want to invest in land banking, you should basically take note of the locations you are about to invest in. Always check what the location is meant for. Is it meant for residential purpose, commercial purpose, or industrial purpose? Because in every city, there are particular areas that the government allocates for particular purposes. So check the migration of people towards your targeted area. Are people fast moving towards that area or not? What is the projection rate? What is the future value of that location? Those are some of the questions you need to be asking yourself before investing in that land. Always do your homework before buying any land. Yes, due diligence. This is a very important point. You are about to spend millions and you wouldn't want to risk losing that or making a bad deal. But always remember at the back of your mind that all the landowners want is to sell. So you are the one to do your homework, as I always call it. That said, I would advise you to watch this video that I made giving you tips on exactly how to buy land in Africa and not get scammed. I can guarantee you that if you watch this video, you are going to be glad you did and thanking it. So one of the best things you could do is target an industrial area and bring in residential or commercial facilities there. That is, target an area where an industry exists already or where there's a projection of an industry or firm or whatever in the future. Buy your land there and keep it to appreciate. And this is what you can do in future. In 5 to 10 years, when the land must have appreciated in value, you aren't going to be selling it all as everyone would do. You would basically divide the land into two and sell part of it and use that money to develop the other part of it. Let me explain further. Let's take, for instance, a situation wherein the government has set a certain structure there. Let's say a cement manufacturing company. Yes, this company is going to be needing workers, right? And the workers are going to be needing residents to reside in. And they are probably going to love their houses to be in proximity to their job site. So that's where you step in, all right? You sell part of the land and use the money to develop the other part by building maybe an estate or guest houses, hotels, and you name it. And you can also extend it to the commercial sector by building things like hospitals, schools, malls, leisure parks, and many more. That's what I am talking about when I talk of bringing in residential and commercial essence to an industrial area. So that's why it is advised to always buy in bulk when you are land banking so that you can do some of these things I just mentioned. Or even if you don't want to develop the area yourself, once the area appreciates in value, you are going to have much more land to sell and make much more profit. Because the worst regret you would ever have in life is to realize that you bought just a small piece of land in a place where you would have bought much more cheaper back then and make lots of profit by the time you are selling it. So if you're investing in land banking and want to make it more profitable in future, please endeavor to add value to your land. And when we talk of adding value, we talk of things like roads or pavements, electricity, water supply, schools, malls, basically every facility you could think of that could ease the life of your future tenants. But that's the surest way of increasing your return on investment. Yes, if you want to enjoy and maximize your return on investment in future, you need to absolutely add value to your land. And hey, don't be scared. When we talk of adding value, it is as simple as just a land title. Yes, having a land title or securing a land title is already some form of adding value to your land, because any land that has a land title is always sold much more expensive than the land that doesn't have a land title yet. So now you might be interested and maybe wondering how to actually get land or lay your your hands on land, because we are talking here of huge plots of land, massive plots of land, hectares of land. So here's how you can go about getting land, all right? You can just be constantly checking the land listings online. You can also simply drive around and search from mouth to ear to get information on where you could get piece of land or vast land to buy. In some African countries, the local government often conducts auction sales of excess land that they would love to develop, and you can get them for much more cheaper than you would get in other situations. So once you've sorted out land, always make sure you evaluate the current value of that land before buying it. In every city and in every location, there is a set limit that the government has placed as a measuring rod for the price of land in that particular area. So you just need to do your homework, as I always say, and get it before starting negotiations. Now, let's assume you've done all of those things and you've gotten your land and you've let it to appreciate over the time. Now, we are 10 years later, right? So how are you going to be selling the land, or when is the right time to sell your land? The right time to actually sell your land is when that area experiences what we call a land bubble. So this is basically that point in time where everyone is rushing to that area to acquire land for their projects, be it their houses or their businesses. Basically, everyone is rushing to that area and they are ready to disburse whatever amount it takes to get a plot of land there. And at that time, there is scarcity. Basically, the demand is high and the supply is low. That's when you step in and start enjoying the fruits of your labor. If you are a very patient person, that is the right time for you to sell your land. So just so you understand how much land banking can be so profitable, let me take you this case study of my neighbor. Yes, this is a neighbor with whom we bought a plot of land together. That is the plot of land in which we built our house. By the time we came on board, our neighbor had bought his plot of land 3 years back, and he bought the land for about $16 a meter square, and that land was altogether 250 meters square. Do you know that as I'm talking to you right now, that neighbor recently sold that land for a whooping $40,000. That's land he had acquired just 8 years back, and he is selling it today for over $40,000. You can split this amount and do the math to have an idea of how much he sold a meter square for. Also, there's this group of friends who invested in land banking in my quarter, that is in my residential area, and they bought about 3 hectares back then. That was basically 5 years before we, the newcomers, came and bought land from this area. Do you know that today we are 10 years later and they are selling a plot of land here for basically $800 a meter square? So basically now, to get a 250 meter square in this residential area, you will need to disburse at least $200,000. So another advice I would give you here is that if you want to invest in land banking or in real estate as a whole, study the patterns of successful people in that domain and simply replicate them. Yes, in any business you are about to venture in life, always make sure to sort out a mentor or someone you look up to as a role model. And land banking or real estate is not an exception. Get yourself that model you would love to emulate and get into action. Study exactly what they did to succeed in that business you are admiring or you want to venture into, and simply do exactly what they did. That's the surest way for you to succeed in any business you are targeting. So you can simply check in your area, who are the land gurus, who are the gurus in real estate or across the world, whoever you admire, study them, study their patterns, and you know what to do already. And finally, I can't end this video without laying emphasis on the fact that you should make sure you get yourself a business consultant or an investment consultant. Please don't neglect this point, alright? You might have the money or whatever it takes, but if you don't have the right advisors to advise you or guide you in your move, you could probably lose a lot of money, and you don't want that to happen. I always tell people to invest in their investment, yes, but there's a difference in just investing and investing in your investment. Endeavor to always invest the required money you need to achieve the success you want. And I love the way we say it in French, l'argent appelle l'argent. That said, hope you learned a couple of things in this video, and I would love to see you putting into practice everything you learned in this video. Thanks for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one.